what really I saw, what went on. There were many issues preceding the actual day. 2 days earlier, I was based in Gulu. I was the chaplain of Uganda Air Force then. The bases, Air Force bases, Gulu, Nakasongola, Entebbe, I'm the overall chaplain, and I had churches in those places. I used to rotate. I would make programs for Entebbe, for Nakasongola, for Gulu, and so I was always moving. I would not sit down because everywhere my Christians would be waiting for me. And so my best commander in Gulu, Captain James Isabirie, may he rest in peace. He died in the process. He was summoned to attend a high command meeting in State House Entebbe. All commanding officers, brigade commanders assembled there. And they were told the topic was something was going on with the Church of Uganda Archbishop. This came when the Archbishop earlier led a delegation of bishops to command post of Amin in Kololo, where they booked appointment to meet him. They had written a letter to him. I did not know that they wrote a letter to him until my base commander told me, and he showed me a copy of the letter. I read through. They were granted permission, he told me, the bishops were granted permission to meet the president. When they went in, all the bishops went as a team. And then Bishop Festo Chivengere, who was a popular evangelist, because I used to invite him from time to time to organize crusades in a military barracks. And Bishop Kivengere, with the team of clergy and other evangelists, would come. It would be a preaching tour, crusades about sometimes 3 days, sometimes 4 days, wherever I organized. So he was the spokesman of the team. And so the Archbishop asked him, they went with the copies of that letter they distributed and gave the president his copy. Then they appointed Bishop Festo to read to him verbatim. And he read the contents of the letter. The contents of the letter were that there are so many wrong things going on, that orphans are being created every day because their fathers or parents were disappearing, always running to the church. Widows, number of widows was increasing. The only place where they sought refuge was the church, and the Church of Uganda. And so in the process now, we as the bishops, he said, we cannot sit idle and don't address this issue. We have to address you as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and as the president of the Republic of Uganda. We don't hear anything from you, any action on who are responsible behind such things going on. Therefore, we're here to know from you and to request that this must stop. There's no any other institution in this country or organization with the capacity to tell you this. It is our duty as the Church of Uganda. We feel that we must tell you this is wrong, and you must tell us why these are going on and when and what I plan, how to stop it.
So the later, being read to Amin. Now I'll continue from there. Let me come now to Canon. Canon, when you talk about Archbishop Janani Luwum, one would want to understand what is his significance in the history of the Church of Uganda.
Thank you. Janani Luwum was, of course, Archbishop, as you said, of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo. And one of the significant things he was going to be the centenary Archbishop. That year, Uganda was becoming 100 years of Christian ministry since 1877. And he was in the heat and the middle of preparing for the centenary celebration, which unfortunately he never had opportunity to celebrate. But he was also a courageous leader. Many times he was approached, the situation is bad. You seem to be a target of murder. Shouldn't you really escape? As a number of people had gone into exile. He said, if I go, what happens to the flock? So as a shepherd leader, he was courageous. He was the kind Jesus talked about, who gives his life for the sheep.
Yeah.
As a pastor, as a shepherd leader, as a leader, he did not shy away from addressing the challenges of the day, even when it was dangerous to his personal life. And it ended up being very dangerous.
Exactly.
And expensive.
Exactly.
And Ugandans, we are rich in history. Archbishop Janani Luwum is one of the 28th century martyrs. And when you go to Westminster Abbey, you'll be shocked to find a statue of the Archbishop, that it is there. It's not only for Uganda, but this sprung, acted as a springboard globally. Now, going back to the living history we have. Now, you've talked about
reading the letter.
The letter, Bishop Festus Chivengere reading it out to Amin. Now, let's continue from that letter.
Yes. So after that letter, Amin was furious. I think my commander told me he threatened them and a serious step must be taken. He told them that his intelligence had vital information against the Archbishop, his personal involvement, and that as the church was moving, as my colleague has said, towards the celebrations of the 100 years since the ministry came to Uganda of Christianity, he wanted to interfere with that. Because he thought that visitors who were coming to celebrate the centenary were mercenaries who might, during him being invited to address the Christians and who would come to celebrate, then he imagined that in the groups sitting there would be armed men who would then rise up and spread him with bullets. And so he had now to say, you are my commanders. Do you think, put yourself in my shoes. All intelligence information comes to me. So my commander comes back and calls me. I said, Reverend, we have a problem. Our Archbishop might be in trouble. James was one of my good Christians. As the leader of the unit, he set example. Always he would be Pancho at church. And he would mobilize. He always talked to officers and men, said, look here, God is the one who is our leader. This man represents God here. We must listen to him. And so all my officers and men, they were obedient. I had programs like Officers' Hour. Every day at 12:30.
Now, we may not have so much time to go into that.
Okay, fine.
I just want us to rush into your arrest and then at
now,
where you meet Archbishop and all that.
Okay, fine. Now, when I'm briefed of these things, then he said, be ready. They had resolved at the meeting that every unit must send 6 soldiers led by an officer to compose something like a parliament of soldiers, because that was a military government, so that these soldiers assemble here at the conference center, and then we'll be asking what is their opinion. So he told me, now, as for this unit to represent the Air Force, you're the one I appoint. I'm giving you a helicopter with the 5 men, plus you the 6th, you go to Kampala. Next morning, the helicopter was there, the soldiers were there, we flew and landed here. The helicopter landed just here in that spot there where it usually lands. When I got out, walking now towards the conference center, leave alone the scenario now was not there. This place was clean, no trees were not planted there. We walked. Now when I saw seated were all bishops in their cassocks, including Anglican, Catholic, Seventh-day, Orthodox, and let's say all Christian organizations sat together in one area, on one side of that, in front of that conference center. This is before moving inside the conference center. So when we sat there, an announcement by Brigadier Isaac Malia Mungu, who was now the spokesperson.
You were told he was the right-hand man of
Yes.
Idi Amin Dada.
So Brigadier Malia Mungu comes and says, here is a special announcement. All clergy, no matter whether you're a chaplain in the armed forces or in a chaplain in the police, in the prison, you know, all the security organizations had chaplains. I was not alone. The prison had chaplains, the police had chaplains, the army had chaplains. So he said, you join your colleagues, your seniors, the bishops, together. This time, we are not going to separate you from your bosses. You are all birds of the same feather. Go to committee room upstairs, number 3. Go all in there and sit there. The president does not want to see you. Whenever he sees you, it makes him annoyed because you are planning with the outsiders to get rid of him. So, move. I joined my group, my colleagues. We went. Once in the committee room 3 upstairs, Malia Mungu the same came with the padlocks, escorted by 6 soldiers, put a key in with the padlock, locked up, brought a chain, also even in addition, as if we were capable of breaking chains and get out of there. That was the atmosphere now was tense. We are all clergy locked in one room. He went away. Once he went away, Archbishop Luwum, he said, gentlemen, my brothers, don't be surprised at what you see. I want to rewind your minds. You have all gone through your theological studies. You know the incidences that happened before Jesus was arrested. He said Jesus knew they are going to come and arrest him. For him, he came for that mission. He was not afraid because he is God. But now, I'm not God, but I'm his servant. I want to tell you that the church in Uganda was founded on the blood of martyrs. Each time you see people coming from various countries to assemble in Namgongo, go back and see what happened in Namgongo. The Kabaka of Buganda then accused 23 Anglican young men and 22 Catholic Church young men, altogether 45, for disobeying him.
Now, we shall come back to the past. Let's come to the present now, Reverend.
Yes, sir.
Listening to retired Captain Baka, when he talks about how things were unfolding at that time. Let's come a bit to the present. Today, we've had issues where people believe that as religious leaders, they shouldn't be anywhere to anything political. Yet at times we've also had those criticizing you religious leaders for being silent. In this mix,
Yep.
where should the church lie?
Then I think that is a result of misconception about God's order of society. Taking the nation of Israel, which was God's selected nation, you see in the Old Testament, there are 3 categories of people who were tasked with the business of shepherding the nation. One was kings, as God's servants. The second were the prophets, and then the priests. So the kings, the prophets, the priests are all tasked with the business of shepherding a country. So there is nothing like this is politics. If it affects the affairs and the conditions of the people, then where does politics begin and where does it end? Except maybe the forum or where you express what you are expressing. There are some things which, if it needs to be addressed to a leader, a specific leader, it's better if you go and address him directly. But if there's no opportunity and maybe communication has been cut, then you can use any other means. But a church leader who is the flock is affected, whatever affects the flock, whether economics, whether politics, whether culture, then the shepherd, the good shepherd, needs to address it. Yeah.
The good shepherd needs to address it. Then when we talk about give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and to what belongs to God, not in necessarily monetary terms, but sometimes people feel like, then how do we judge the non-partisan? How do you maintain that balance?
Well, it's back and forth.
Because the yardsticks.
Yes, what is Caesar's? We now must address what is Caesar's. If it is honor, then give those in leadership honor. If it is taxes, then give taxes. If it is respect, give them respect. But on the understanding that they too are keeping in their lane. If you don't keep in your lane,
In reciprocation.
Or if you infringe on the space of other people, then it is good communication and feedback to say, hey, hello, this one is not running well, maybe it could run better.
Okay, let's go back to the dungeons of Nakasero. Yes, retired captain.
Well, now from there, he comes, Bishop says, church in Uganda was founded on blood of martyrs. Therefore, don't be surprised of why we are finding ourselves in this situation. Therefore, I want to tell you that for your information, tonight I might not be with you, but I urge you to be faithful to the oath of allegiance you took to Jesus during your ordinations and in your various capacities. You all know what's happening, but I call upon you. Whatever happens, stand firm. You all took the oath of being obedient soldiers of Christ until your life's end. If we are coming to 100 years celebrating the time the gospel entered Uganda, and this situation arises, and what might happen, as I've told you, if I'm being chosen by God to be the sacrificial lamb for renewing that blood which was shed 100 years ago for the next 100 years, be it.
So he was ready.
He said he was ready. He told us that I received information from United States government that we're ready to send U.S. Special Commandos to rescue you, carry out an operation on the Mengo Hill, on the Namirembe Hill, pick you up from there. We don't want you to die. We are sure you're going to die. He said, he told them, if Jesus, my Jesus, who knew very well what was coming, ran away, there would have been no Christianity today. Then why do I run away? He said, secondly, the British government said they were ready to send their SAS, Special Air Services. This is like you have SFC here. It's a special military commando group in the UK. They too were ready. He said the British High Commission told him that that unit is in Mombasa, in one of British fleets. 5 helicopters would storm Namirembe Hill and pick him up. He said, I have said no. If my Jesus fled, it will not be, I will not be here.
Let's move to the next step, in the interest of time.
After that, our colleague, Archbishop of Rubaga, of your Catholic Church, Cardinal Nsubuga, he starts one of our popular choruses. We have decided to follow Jesus. We have decided to follow Jesus. We have decided.
In a room locked up with padlocks.
We all join.
A president annoyed.
Yes.
You begin
singing that song, and we joined in, and we went on the top of our voices, and we were clapping, to the extent that it provoked anger down there when Amin was down there addressing the gathering of soldiers. And Malemungu ran up, said, you men of God, can you stop interrupting the president? Why are you making that kind of wild noise? The more he talked, the more our voices went high. Then Festo told him, look here, today is our day. As we are singing, you are Christian, you are not a Muslim. Isaac Maliamungu, you know what we took that name from. Therefore, today is our day. If it means we are going to die for Christ, we have all taken an oath to die for Christ. That's why we are saying we have decided to follow Jesus, no turning back. Go and tell Amin, there will be no turning back from here.
You were in that room. Away from being among many people, were you determined to death then?
Me? I took the oath he's talking about. Every ordained minister, including my brother here and us, have you ever attended ordination ceremonies? Do you hear what the oath that someone is kneeling there with all hands laid on him by all bishops, and is reading a list of oaths? Will you do this? Yes, I will. God be my helper. Will you do this? Yes, I will. God be my helper. Until that list ends, I have gone through that. It was administered on me in Amirembe Cathedral when I was ordained by Archbishop Luwum. I was actually ordained by him. Now, if the man who ordained me is telling me the things that I must follow, how would I be different?
Now, coming back to the present from the history, it is very interesting, and our fellow Ugandans, today is a public holiday as we are commemorating the 47th martyrdom of Archbishop Janani. Luwum. Main function is in Kitgum, where he was buried and where he originated from. And we are looking at who this man was and why are we, after so many years, because he was killed in 1977 on the orders of then President Idi Amin. Why do we look at him as a special person to celebrate? What was so unique? Why do we find his statue in Westminster Abbey in the United Kingdom? Why do we have this great man? Now, this is where I want to bring in Canon. He's talked about that determination. Since then, what does this mean to the growth of the Anglican faith in a world where we see immorality at its peak?
Yes.
We are being ranked among the top drunken nations who consume so much alcohol. We are being threatened by homosexuality. And we have matters, the Uganda matters. We have Janani, a matter as well. What does it mean to Christianity?
Well, I think a number of things. To take us back, when Amin killed Luwum, I think it removed all reasonable doubt that Idi Amin was dangerous. If we could kill an archbishop, then who else would be spared? He had killed the Chief Justice, Ben Kiwanuka. He had the Vice Chancellor then of the Honor University, Frank Karimuzo, had also disappeared. And now the Archbishop. You know, in a democracy or in a country, especially universities and churches, are the other platforms where people can stand and maybe give feedback to government if it is not doing well, if it is not doing a good job. But those two institutions, their heads have been cut. So it removed all reasonable doubt that the situation in Uganda was not good. Now fast forward, Uganda as a Christian country, not just Church of Uganda, we are said to be 85% Christian. Pentecostals,
all part of us.
Roman Catholic, and yet we are the, is it first or second drinking nation? I can say
alcoholics.
It's not just drinking. It's
so many other
actually
things.
Corruption.
Immorality.
Corruption, immorality. But I would only say maybe the situation would have been worse without Christian teaching and instruction or restraint. But definitely we can do better. The challenge we have is where we want to domesticate faith. Faith of an individual should affect their public conduct of their life. As a Christian, if you are a Christian and you are in public service, then your Christian values should inform the way you function as a servant, wherever God has placed you. Remember, you are a Christian 24 hours. And every Christian is in full-time Christian ministry. Like here, you are a Christian in Christian ministry in UBC. When that understanding is cleared, I think our functioning should be better.
Now, going back, Maria Mungu comes, says you are knowing the president. You guys, men of God in this room, you continue singing how you've decided to follow Jesus, not turning back. Then what happened there?
Immediately he went back. He came back with the 5 soldiers. Came with his key and he opened the door. When he opened the door, he said, Luwum, you're under arrest, pending interrogation in your activities in subversive issues against the government and Republic of Uganda. You are being sponsored by some foreign countries, even an immediate neighborhood, Tanzania. Therefore, you're under arrest. The rest of you, you are given 5 minutes. I repeat, 5 minutes. Disappear from this room. Anybody who will be found loitering or anywhere around this area shall do so at his own risk. Before he proceeds to order the 5 men to grab the Archbishop, Festo was always a brave bishop. Festo said, Brigadier Maria Mungu, I want to ask you, in your opinion, if 30 soldiers, including you, were locked in such a room, a tiny room, and given 5 minutes with a small door, would you turn into air and vanish? Would it be possible? He said, I see. Okay. I give you 15 minutes. Meanwhile, move. The soldiers moved and grabbed the Archbishop. As they begin pulling the Archbishop, Bishop Wani, Silvanus Wani, who was the dean of the province, dean in other understanding, is like the deputy archbishop. He's the person who immediately becomes responsible if his head is affected. My brother, I think he will elaborate on that. So Bishop Ngani grabs the archbishop in the west, said, "Where are you taking my brother?" When he did that, we joined in. Other people also grabbed Silvano on the west, and we formed a tug of war chain, interchained like this. They're pulling him out, we're pulling him back. They're pulling him out, we're pulling him back. Until one soldier got his gun, AK-47, put on the chest of the archbishop. He did this. He gave the archbishop a strong kick that freed Silvanus' hand. I mean, he put that in the chest of Silvanus one when the archbishop was there. So, kicking this bishop with the hard kick, here,
well,
the
we
bishop
can
falls
still
down.
say much about history, but as events are unfolding, you can, on your screen, service has started. That is in Kitgum, where the main celebrations to commemorate 47 years of martyrdom of Janani Luwum have started. Allow me now to move to Kitgum, where the celebrations are. Good morning.
Good morning.
Tribute to our beloved Archbishop Janani Luwum. I'm thankful to you.
West Nile, Moroban, Madian, West Nile. has
The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, together with the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, together with the Minister of State for Ethics and Integrity, Honorable Akela Rose Lilly, with pleasure invites the general public to the 47th commemoration of the martyrdom of Archbishop Janani Luwum on Friday, 16th February 2024 at Wigweng Muchwinyi Kidgum District, under the theme Conforming to the Truth of God's Word That Transforms, derived from Romans chapter 12 verses 1 to 2. The main celebrant will be the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, and the chief guest will be His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. The service starts at 9 a.m., organized by the Office of the President and the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity. The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, together with the Minister of State for Ethics and Integrity, Honorable Akela Rose Lilly, with pleasure invites the general public to the 47th commemoration of the martyrdom of Archbishop Janani Luwum on Friday, 16th February 2024 at Wigweng Muchwinyi Kidgum District, under the theme Conforming to the Truth of God's Word That Transforms, derived from Romans chapter 12 verses 1 to 2. The main celebrant will be the Most Reverend Dr. Stephen Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, and the chief guest will be His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. The service starts at 9 a.m., organized by the Office of the President and the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity.
Ensuring that we give you the best coming in from Kitgum District, where service has already commenced. But back here, I'm still with the living history and then Reverend Canon Geoffrey Byarugaba, who happens to be the principal head of Clergy Church of Uganda. Now, before we had a push there, you said now there was a fight until one kicked the Archbishop out of your hands.
And then they pulled him out. As they pulled him out, Bishop Wani continued following them, saying, "You killers, where are you taking my brother? Where are you taking my brother?" Until they pushed him into a car. It was, if I can remember, because the door was now open. It was a Ford Capri, a sports type of vehicle, red in color. They pushed him in, they took off at high speed. Then we got out. As we got out, we found all our vehicles had been looted. But then Bishop says, "I'm not leaving this ground until I see Idi Amin face to face." Isaac, can you tell Mariamungu, your namesake, to go to him and say, "I want to leave the grounds. I'm now the de facto acting Archbishop." What will I tell the church? Christians are